So today I'm going to walk you through what I do for meal prep. And it's mainly for my lunches because for breakfast, I'll kind of alternate it between yogurt and hard-boiled eggs, some with yolk, some without. And then for dinner, I pretty much have a salad every night and I put a protein on there. But my lunches they're set. So I'll have a protein, a carb, and some veggies. And then depending on when I lift, if I lift more in the morning, I'll have more carbs in the morning. Or if I lift at night, I'll want more carbs at night. So again, I kind of focus my carbs around when I'm weightlifting. So in this video, I'm going to show you all of what I do and how easy it is. You can get it done while you're cooking your dinner for your family. It's super easy, and I hope you enjoy. So I start off by, after going to the grocery store, I take my sweet potato, and even if it's been pre-washed, I like to just wash it just in case. You never know what's on there. I like to get organic produce because it has the least amount of contaminants on it, like pesticides. And then I cut the ends off so it cooks better. And then I just take a knife, just be really careful. I don't pierce all the way through, but I poke little holes in it, just little air vents so your potatoes don't explode in the oven. And then I just put them on the baking sheet. I cook it at 350. And depending on the sweet potato, some of them take a little bit longer than others. I check it after, like basically every 30 minutes, but it usually takes about an hour and a half, 2 hours, sometimes more. And then you want to make sure that your knife that you use, I just use a small steak knife when I'm checking the potatoes, that it goes all the way through easily. And if you feel any resistance, especially with the bigger ones, just leave those in for a little bit longer, make sure they're fully cooked. And that is how I do my carbs. And I like two different types of sweet potatoes. So this one is my favorite. It's a Japanese Okinawa purple sweet potato. And it's much more hearty, than there's lots of physiological and medical benefits to this type of potato. It's definitely more hearty, has a little bit more of earthy, may I even say bitter taste to it. But I love it. It's got that earthy flavor that artichokes kind of have. So it's delicious. I love it, and it's super good for you. It's very high in polyphenols, which is an anti-cancer chemical, and it's very good for your body. You can see here the gorgeous purple color of it. I just love these sweet potatoes, and again, they're not really sweet. Again, they're more of like that earthy taste, but they're phenomenal. They're really difficult to find, and when you find them, I do recommend just getting a bunch. And I had a hard time finding them when we moved to Dallas, so I would actually order them online. So you can order them on Amazon and have them shipped to your house. And then I like, again, to have different types of sweet potatoes. The other ones are also a purple sweet potato, but you can see they're orange inside. You can cut your sweet potato up into little cubes, but I just find this to be more time intensive, and I've done it before and it does dry it out. I do like it a little bit more moist inside, so it's really your preference. And then you go ahead and pop it into the oven. Again, it's at 350 degrees. You can just use different baking sheets for the different sweet potato, or you can just use the same one. And this is gonna last me at least 2 meal preps. While the sweet potato are in the oven cooking, I go ahead and I take my chicken breast. I like to use a all-natural chicken breast, so look for ones that are antibiotic-free and pasture-raised if at all possible. And then I just throw it in a crock pot. I think I have 6 chicken breasts in here, and I like to use the thinly sliced ones or even the chicken tenders just due to higher surface area, so they can just get all of that yummy flavoring into the meat. And then I'll go ahead and I'll add different seasonings. Sometimes I'll mix it up with salt-free seasoning, or I'll put salt in it. But my go-to is herbs de Provence, and you can see here, I'm just dumping the whole thing on there because it is a lot of chicken. And then once I put that in there, then I'll go ahead and use some sea salt. I like Himalayan sea salt, pink sea salt, because of the mineral content of it. And also I heard that sea salt can have little traces of plastic in it because there's plastic in the ocean. So again, I'm just trying to decrease my exposure to plastics as much as possible, so I decided to switch over to this pink Himalayan sea salt. And then once I have that in there, I don't even add any liquid because the juices from the chicken itself will go ahead and add a lot of liquid, and then I'll actually save that liquid later, and I'll use that liquid to saute some vegetables, or I'll use that liquid to make a rice dish or quinoa. It's super tasty and it has a lot of collagen in it. And then once I get it all mixed together, then I'll just turn the lid on. Usually I'll cook it on low, but you can also cook it on high. And if I cook it on low, I just let it sit there all day long while I'm out and about doing other things, like going to work. I like to use the slow cooker for larger pieces of meat like turkey breast, chicken breast, pork tenderloin, or larger pieces of meat. But I do not like to use it for ground beef or ground turkey. I do that in a skillet. To mix things up a little bit and give me a little bit more variety, I'm going to go ahead and use my rice cooker for making some brown rice. I like to use a nice hearty broth, and I get this in the refrigerator section over at the grocery store, and it's so hearty it's almost like Jello, and that's from the collagen that's in the broth. And so I don't like to just cook with water. I like to cook with a high collagen broth, and you can make this yourself. I've done that before, or you can buy just a high quality broth, and it's going to just add that extra component to your rice that is going to be very beneficial. I don't count in the macros for the protein that's in this. It's just kind of like a little extra plus, and it's going to be good for your gut as well. Depending on your rice cooker, you will use like 2-to-1 ratio. So typically I'll do 2 parts liquid to 1 part rice. I also like to add other spice in there, and the spice I like to use on a regular basis is turmeric and ginger, because it's also inflammatory and very good for you. Now, turmeric is best activated in the presence of black pepper. So whenever I add turmeric, I always add a little black pepper. You know, the kids, they can't even tell. They don't know the difference, and they love this rice. And I'll add a little bit of salt as well. It's delicious. In this situation, I am using a short grain organic brown rice, but you can use a long grain. I think this one that's sprouted. You can use white rice if you want. I haven't made quinoa in a rice cooker. I typically do that on stovetop, just like I would do with ground beef or ground turkey. But this rice cooker, it makes things so easy. You don't have to worry about it. You just put the lid on, give a little stir, turn it on, and then it will keep it warm all day. Or you can just let it cool off, and then you use it in your meal prep. Okay, so now that we have made a big old bat of chicken, and we've made 2 different types of sweet potatoes. We have our Japanese or Okinawa purple sweet potatoes. And then we also have a Japanese purple sweet potato, but it's orange inside. But you can find it at the market, and it will say Japanese purple sweet potato. But 2 totally different macros, 2 totally different benefits. I love the Okinawa sweet potatoes because they have a lot of polyphenols in them. So does this. That has more beta carotene. But it's good to kind of mix up your carbs. Again, sometimes I'll do rice, or actually I mainly stick to rice and sweet potatoes for my carbs. I don't really like to do regular potato, but you could do regular potato if you want. Then with vegetables, I find that it's best if I use like a frozen vegetable. So I like to just get like an organic bag of frozen broccoli. You can also use asparagus or Brussels sprouts. I don't know what it is about the frozen vegetables, but they don't get so stinky when you heat them up, because at work, if I try to heat up food that like Brussels sprouts I already made or broccoli I already made that I roasted in the oven, for some reason it gets a little bit more stinky when I reheat it at work, and sometimes that can upset, people around me. So for some reason this doesn't get stinky, and it makes food prep even easier, because all you have to do is get this and it's already done. It's already done for you. So in here again with my chicken, I had herbs de Provence and some garlic and salt. That's it. So you take your container. I like to use glass because I don't like to reheat in plastic. And then you get your food scale. You can use any food scale you want. And you put everything here. So I'm going to turn it on. And then you can go to your measurement that you want, either grams, pounds, or ounces. I like to use ounces. So for me, I like to have about 5 ounces of protein, which equates to about 45 grams of macro protein. So 5 ounces of chicken. So we're like 4.5 right now. And I like to get as close to that number as possible, but again, you don't have to get all crazy. So that's pretty perfect, actually. There you go, 5.01. That's great. And then you can re-tear it, or you can just keep adding in your head. And then I like to go with 3 ounces of one of my carbs. Again, it's going to be different from person to person based off your macros. And then I like to go to broccoli. And again, I base this off frozen broccoli. So if you go, I use MyFitnessPal, I'll put in frozen broccoli. So You know, I don't know if it weighs different than fresh broccoli, but it seems pretty good to just put frozen in because it is more heavy because it is frozen. So I don't know if it makes a huge difference, but I like to be precise. That's it. And then you just put your lid on. And then what I like to do is get a piece of tape, and you can write down, get a Sharpie. And I learned this trick from a friend. You actually fold the tape so it's easy to take off. Really helpful. And then you just write down what you have. So you have 5 OZ of cooked chicken breast, 3 OZ of frozen broccoli, and 3 OZ of cooked purple sweet potato. And you just write it like that. And then you just make all these, and then you put it in your freezer like I showed before. And then you have all your different meals that you can grab, and these will last for months. Again, I don't like to put mine, you could put it in the refrigerator if you want, but after a couple of days they get kind of gnarly. So I like to keep mine in the freezer, and it works out really great. So I have a freezer outside where I put all the meals, and again, some are chicken, some are beef, some are turkey, and it just gives me a little bit of variety. And before I go to work, I just grab one of those, put them in my lunch bag with a metal fork, and then I head off to work, and I just have all that variety there. And you guys have weeks of food in here, and it makes it so easy. So I hope you enjoyed this little video on food prep. Again, let this be your inspiration, and you can get as creative as you want. And the more different meals you have, the more different options you have. And as long as you label it, you know exactly what's going into your mouth. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to our channel and like, comment, and share this video if it was a blessing to you. Here's another video for you to watch. Have a blessed day.